podcast is never intended as legal advice. Each podcast is a brainstorm of ideas and potential solutions. Consult an attorney for your legal questions. Thank you. Welcome. Today's discussion is what to do when your family member is not able to process things as well, does not have a diagnosis of Alzheimer's, may have a little bit of dementia, but we all have a little bit at some point. It's not if, it's when. And how do you help them take care of certain things? The first item that seems to go is our ability to program a thermostat. Thank goodness the old circular thermostats are returning, because now you can turn the dial until you get the number you want and set it. The other good news is some of the thermostats you can program remotely, because my family member was really good at setting the thermostat at 95, and in a desert you don't need your house to be 95 all the time. That's terrible. And so keep an eye out for changes such as the house is hotter than you could ever imagine, and maybe inquire, is this comfortable for you? Because most of the seniors are not subject to wanting a very cool environment. They like it very warm. But I found with my family, nobody wanted to put on a sweater or jacket, which is not a big deal to me, but that's how they operated. So when the house was 85, I had an inclination that something was going on and I needed to address it. What other kinds of things can come up? There are a lot. One of the issues that's really hard to decipher is if your family member has an infection or if they're really, really not able to process anything. For example, I got a call from my mother who was quite clear in that she knew I was working in another state. Hi, I know you're working in another state. I just wanted to let you know that Dad did not come home from the baseball game last night. Oh my gosh. I couldn't even imagine. Here my mom was 85, my dad's in his 90s. He didn't come home? That was almost impossible to imagine. And then I thought, there's something wrong with this. That's what you always have to do, is ask yourself, what's wrong with this picture? So I said, Mom, yell Dad's name. And so I heard her say, Al! And then I heard, what? And I started to laugh, but it probably wasn't really funny because my mother may have been somewhat distressed. I'll never know for sure because I wasn't present. But, and she didn't seem at her wit's end. She just said that Dad hadn't returned. And so I said, Mom, did you hear that response? Oh yes, oh yes. Well, who is that? It's my father-in-law. It's not your father, it's my father-in-law. So I could have had a discussion about who did you cook for last night? Whose trash did you take out yesterday? I could have gone into a number of discussions, but I didn't. I did not want to make this difficult. And so I tried to rationalize. Okay, if Dad's 92, then how old would his dad be? Wouldn't he be in his hundreds? And that didn't work so well. And I didn't just blatantly state, you're wrong. I never told my mother she was wrong. I never told my father they were wrong. I always worked with them. That's hard when you're honest to a fault, but you sometimes have to have a little bit of schmooze in your empathy. So I said, okay, Mom, I said, let's do some calling and see if we can figure out where Dad is. So I got off the phone. Now the good news was my mom had been discharged from the hospital and we had in-home health. So I called the nurse because guess what? In-home health works 24/7, yay! So the nurse came over and ran a test to see if Mom had an infection. I didn't luck
out, because infections on seniors are very common, very frequent, and will often contribute to this confusion. They don't know what else to call it, but it's just confusion. And so since that didn't work, I didn't really fix the problem or solve it, but over the next few hours, between a family member coming over and just spending time with my mom, we just kind of worked through it. It was an interesting side of dementia, but she hadn't had the diagnosis at that time, and for her to get that confused was most unusual for us. But that wasn't the only part of the dementia that came out. So stay tuned for some of the other behaviors you may anticipate that could be connected to dementia, so you're as prepared as possible to deal with the issues. Thank you for joining us.